I'm strong in faith.
Faith can move mountains. Radio Maria 91.3 FM.
The voice of truth.
Good morning and thank you for tuning in to Radio Maria 91.3 FM. It's now time for Side by Side, where we discuss issues relating to conflict, peace, and security. I am Chiedu Ude. Kene Obiezu is here by my side. Good morning, Kene.
Good morning, Chiedu. Good morning, listeners.
Also, we have a new addition to our side-by-side team. Brand new Reverend Father Loius Duniya. Good morning, Father Duniya. Good morning.
Good morning, Chiedu, and good morning to our listeners.
Okay. We will be joined later on in the program by a very special guest who will walk side by side with us on today's program. He is AIG Wilson Inalegwu retired. Later on in the program, he will be joining us. Our guest will help us look into the recent calls for self-defense. Last week, we had an honorable minister, former minister, who helped us dive deep into this issue with some insights, and then a good number of listeners also came in with contributions on this burning topic. And since then, Pastor Adeboye of the Redeemed Church of God also made the call for citizens to defend themselves. On the streets of our country, that is what is on the minds of many Nigerians. This morning, we will discuss on this very important issue raging through the nation. That is, calls for self-defense. But first, let us look at some side stories, and Kene will help us look at stories trending, both home and abroad. Kene?
Chiedu, we followed a number of stories, both at home and abroad, and we feel that it will be in the best interest of our listeners to know these stories so they can keep up to date with what is happening in their country, Nigeria. So we begin from the first news story we have here. War. Thank God, Ukraine's missiles fired at us were intercepted. This is according to Belarus, and it is from the Daily Post. Man sets estranged wife ablaze. Burning woman grabs suspect. Both die. This is from the Punch newspaper. Protest in Rivers community over constant air raids, killings of 30 indigents. This is from the Daily Post. Experts raise concern as Army court-martials 501 personnel. This is from the Punch newspapers. And under this news story, we have some more details for our listeners. It's not surprising that experts are worried. Just 10 days ago, the Punch carried a story about the General and Special Court Martial set up by the military to try some personnel of the Nigerian Army involved in the ongoing fight against insurgency in the Northeast. It read, Court Martial recommends dismissal, imprisonment of 34 soldiers. In more details, the theater commander, Operation Hardin K, Major General Christopher Musa, disclosed that a total of 227 soldiers were brought before the court. 4 soldiers were recommended for dismissal, 30 others were recommended to be imprisoned, 25 personnel were recommended for demotion, 20 were recommended for loss of pay, and 17 others were recommended to face severe reprimand. 10 soldiers were also discharged and acquitted, while 14 cases were struck off, and 107 other cases were recommended for summary trial. Chief of Army Staff charges troops to complement kinetic efforts with spiritual intervention. Security challenges require state police. This is according to Governor Rotimi Akeredolu of Ondo State, and it's coming from the Punch newspaper. From the Punch newspaper, we have attack on security agents. Death toll rises. Niger State keeps mum. You will recall that the scores of soldiers, policemen, and civilians killed after bandits attacked a mining site on Wednesday has been rising. The convener of Concerned Shiroro Youths of Niger State, Sani Koki, on Sunday revealed that locals had discovered the dead body of a mobile policeman. He said that the deceased were 34 soldiers, 8 policemen, and 6 civilians.
Kene? Yes, looking at this story, concerning the Chief of Army Staff charging troops to complement kinetic efforts with spiritual intervention, Father Duniya, hang on a minute. Soldiers, are they now looking up to the very churches under attack, or spiritual centers that are under attack, to come help out the military?
I would understand the call by the Chief of Army Staff to, or I'll pretend to understand that call as not showing helplessness. Instead, I'll prefer to see it from the angle that he wants to see a more holistic person in every soldier who fights for the Nigerian nation. Otherwise, their professional line may not necessarily carry that emphasis on the spiritual.
Oh, maybe the spiritual armor has been lacking.
So maybe he wants a balance in them. So I think maybe
is it a spiritual armor or spiritual shield, whichever one?
I don't understand. But I think maybe going forward, we may get to know more clearly what he means by that. But I want to see it just from the perspective of goodwill, because recently, like you earlier remarked, we are having these kind of desperate calls by even sitting governors, for people to do, what is yet not provided for in our constitution. And if the Chief of Army Staff is saying you can combine kinetic and spiritual, then maybe he knows more than we do.
Okay, hybridization of virtually everything you do is actually creeping into the concept of military defense. And then there's this other story from Rivers State. Protests in Rivers community over constant air raids. Now we talk of self-defense. Self-defense may be effective in our climb when you have raids by foot soldiers or foot insurgents or militants on foot. But air raids, air raids, and then we're talking of self-defense. Air raids from who? Air raids from who? From the state or from the unknown raiders?
I would want to think that the air raids came majorly from the authorities in charge of security in Nigeria, because I think just like we have in Kaduna, like we've been seeing in Kaduna, where bandits attacked Kajuru local government, and in the process some residents alleged that a helicopter belonging to the Nigerian Air Force was actually aiding the bandits, which the Kaduna State government later came out to deny. I would want to think that the protest in Rivers community came as a result of constant air raids by men of the Nigerian military. I do not think that it was by bandits. I mean, we know that some of the communities have always been convulsed by one crisis or the other, but at the same time, we know that our security personnel have been doing a lot to try and bring some stability to those communities, because in Rivers State, we always have issues of cultists clashing, and because it's at the heart of Nigeria's oil producing area, we also have a lot of what goes on there. A lot of the insecurity in Rivers State comes from the fact that
the economic assets
exactly.
that have to do with oil production rather vandalized, and they're not economic sabotage, so to say. But now look at this. There's a protest, so this protest must be coming from communities. These are communities inhabited by citizens of Nigeria complaining of raids. We should be raiding insurgents. We should be raiding criminals. Communities being raided by the state. So do you see where I'm coming from? This is a protest coming from communities. They are looking for protection, and they are demanding that, in essence, of course, this demand must be that the raids shouldn't be coming to their communities, because we should actually be confronting those who are making the lives of citizens difficult.
Exactly. And another thing is there is also something under it about 30 indigents being killed. So it's been our experience in Nigeria in the fight against insurgency and all other manner of insecurity, that when Nigerian military authorities go after these criminals wherever they may be,
yes,
they are usually casualties. But of course, calls have always been growing that they should get more professional. They should look into the whole issue so that we do not always have a situation where civilians are being shelled when they go out to fish out these criminals.
Yeah, so this collateral damage is now more than damage being done to those who harm the state. Father?
I think the issue being discussed gives me a lot of concern, because in modern warfare, the air raids are like the highest assets that you can deploy. And this shouldn't just come too cheap, especially in a country to its own citizens.
Right.
And I think there are also clear indications to the fact that in some part of the country, this country where things are even worse security-wise, there are not such constant air raids. And you see the emphasis on that story is they are protesting constant air raids. And I think there should be some explanation as to who are those in charge of our airspace, who allow these planes. They should be able to account for in fact, the
incessant
I know, you have no right to even fly a drone. I was once delayed on a flight for 10 hours from UK because there was a drone, which happened to be, after investigation, a small boy flying, around. Is that serious? But in a country where from time to time, even he referred to the Kajuru incidents, and it's easy for denials to come, but these things happen. People don't just fabricate these things. So I think there are a lot of concerns, because it must have become incessant for there to be protests. They are choking from it, and I think we should get more on this and address the issue. If there are some forms of insecurity, there are ways they could be addressed, even from engaging the society or the community directly. And in most cases, if our due diligence is not done in terms of intelligence, then the casualties may go to innocent people, 30, So I think it needs to be looked into.
Yeah, and then we're talking about now the call for self-defense is actually is dominating this discussion, and then more are for it. Now, if state actors are responsible more for some of these areas, and the call for self-defense, if it gets a nod from the government, so that means that when people now take up arms to defend themselves, state actors may eventually be at the receiving end. That is the problem. So, Kene, let's get on with the news.
Okay, so the next news story we have is from the Punch newspaper. Bandits kill Plateau village head, son, abduct 2 women. 28 die in Ogun Yobe road crashes. FRSC cautions against night travel. This is from the Punch newspaper. Osun governorship election. Don't heat up polity. INEC cautions media practitioners. This is from the Daily Trust newspaper. FCTA directs parks to close by 7 p.m. daily. Policy takes effect from today. This is from the Daily Trust newspaper. Alleged abduction. We rescued 77 children from Ondo Church, says the police. This is from the Daily Trust newspaper. And under this news story, we have SP Fumilayo Dulami, the police public relations officer in Ondo State, saying that police rescued no fewer than 77 people in a case of suspected abduction from the Whole Bible Deliverance Church, aka Ondo Church, Valentino area in Ondo Town, Ondo West Local Government Area. Part of the statement by SP Fumilayo Odunlami read, preliminary investigation revealed that one pastor, Josiah Peter Asumosa, an assistant pastor in the church, was the one who told the members that rapture will take place in April. But later he said it had been changed to September 2022 and told the young members to obey only their parents in the Lord. A family member who was also around during the rescue said their daughter, a Part 3 student, dropped out of school due to the strange teachings of the pastor and left home in January 2022 to live in the church. In all, 77 members, including 26 children, 8 teenagers, and 43 adult members, were rescued from the church. 2 Reverend Fathers abducted in Edo. This is from the Daily Trust newspaper. The kidnapped priests are Reverend Fathers Ubo Philemon of St. Joseph Retreat Center and Reverend Father Udom Peter of Uromi Catholic Diocese in Edo State. This is happening just 1 week after gunmen abducted and killed Reverend Father Christopher Odia, a priest of the Diocese of Auchi. Both abductions happened on Sunday. And finally, from the Vanguard newspaper, we have fuel scarcity won't end soon. This is a warning coming from Nupeng. Chiedu.
Yeah, thanks, Kene, for the stories. Let's take a closer look at some of them. Now, Father Duniya, in the last 2-3 weeks, it appears the church is under attack. Abductions, killings, abductions, and killings, and no conclusion as to who the culprits are, just like what's been going on in the country all this while. No arrest, no prosecution, and then we have more and more abductions. Of course, there has been whispers of ransoms being paid. Why is the church the target?
That is the question on the lips of so many of us. Let me already prolong or escalate the issue. There is one even pressing one that has not made it to the conventional newspapers, but I can talk about it because the person in question is my classmate. I spoke with him even on my way here. He's in the hospital. There's a community in Usen, a little community around Okada, that was also attacked yesterday around 4 p.m. And is a community of Somascan fathers. An Italian Reverend Father Luigi Brenner, who was sitting in front of the community, just saw some young men, all of them maybe 20 and below, charged out of the bush with guns. But because he's an Italian, an expatriate who runs for the Diocese of Benin City, an orphanage taking care of orphans, with some few Nigerian fathers, one of whom is my classmate and left my house 2 weeks ago. He was resisted and got a lot of deep cuts.
Machete.
He was macheted. And they couldn't go with father because the vigilante in the community,
Mobilized.
hearing the gunshots, mobilized and came to the rescue. But they couldn't get the boys. The boys ran into the forest where they came. and as it is, he's battling for his life. So, back to your question, why are we the targets? Why have we become the new bride of these criminals and daredevils? And I don't know. And I think whatever it is, some persons are supposed to be responsible for our collective safety. And you see, this is a very volatile country, especially when it comes to issues of security and peace. And if care is not taken, with a sustained attack on the church, it could be translated into or interpreted to seem as if there's some religious conflict, because there are a lot of people who don't know any better and are so vulnerable and could pick up the narrative. We can't explain why we are under attack. We can't explain why we have to bury our priest in quick succession. Father Odia was buried on Thursday. Same day, Father Vitus Borogo was buried in Kaduna. On the 7th of June, Father Joseph Akete was buried. Just a year ago, Father Alphonsus was buried. All these died in the hands of so-called kidnappers. And like you said, no explanation coming from the authorities. Some persons are supposed to be in charge of our security. And we are wondering, as much as everybody is wondering, why should we be singled out? So I think something needs to be done, and urgently too, because we live in so much uncertainty. The entire uncertainty is a gap that is all over the country. But when some group of persons or particular institutions are further singled out for more deeper impact, then I hope it doesn't drive us into a point of...
I'm coming to that, because if the church, especially the clergy, continues to come under this incessant attack, and then now when you marry it with the call for self-defense. Self-defense means arming ourselves. Do we now take away the instruments the clergy need to actually perform their ministerial duties and replace them with guns?
Unfortunately, you see, for us, it's even a bigger issue.
Right.
Because we very necessary to the office we carry for society are clear issues of morality. You understand? I think the principles of self-defense progresses on one thing, that you are absolved of any guilt. That you are absolved of any guilt, even if you have to deal the most fatal and lethal blow to an aggressor, in which case you are not guilty of murder. That is the principle of self-defense.
And even the clergy can also invoke this principle.
Now, yes, our church, and it's very clear that in the Christian faith, we have a provision for self-defense.
Okay.
You understand? But for us, the clergy, is even more incumbent on us, because we have that mandate to always promote the cause of life.
Okay.
You understand?
Right.
So it's not a narrative that we want to join even on the streets. Let me give you an instance. A priest that was picked up in Zaria very recently, Father Felix Zachary, I spoke with him. He got wind that his people were being attacked and killed. And somebody called him and said, "Father, leave the community." He was almost on his way to the community, and he asked himself a question: why am I running to? My people are being killed. And that demobilized him. And he was picked up. So there is a moral category. That is where I'm taking you to.
Right.
That is not even a conversation that we would want to join in, even if it becomes necessary, because of that sacred mandate we have to always talk about life, defend life in all circumstances. Whether it's in the case of abortion or whatever, we must be seen to stand for life. So, yes, the principles allows you to be absolved of any guilt, even when you have to. That is why we say you don't kill for self-defense. You kill in self-defense.
Okay.
That is where in law they talk about intentionality. That is where the swerve like this comes. So I think we would be more at home if the civil authorities do what they ought to do,
and not force the
and
hands,
not put us in that very tight corner.
Force the hands of our clergy, who should just play their sacred role of shepherding the flock, and they shepherding them to God's kingdom, and not. Now we have AIG Wilson Inalegwu here in the studio. AIG, welcome.
It's a pleasure for me to be here.
Now we'll take a short break.
Okay.
And then when we come back, discussion in details will continue on the calls for self-defense. Stay with us. Tuned in to Radio Maria 91.3 FM. You have been listening to Side by Side. Now we shall begin our discussion in details on calls for self-defense. Once again, we have in the studio Assistant Inspector General Wilson Inalegwu, retired. Welcome, AIG Inalegwu.
Thank you so much.
Okay. Kene?
All right, we have some side facts on attacks on churches and clergymen in Nigeria. The Christian Association of Nigeria says that attacks on Christians and churches have been increasing sharply. According to data collected by the Armed Conflict Location and Event Data Project, ACLED, there have been 23 separate attacks on church premises and people linked to them so far this year. For the whole of 2021, there were 21, and in 2020, there were 18 of such attacks. As many as 40 worshippers were killed in a church in Ondo State, in southwest Nigeria on June 5, 2022. Methodist church leader Samuel Kanu Uche was kidnapped in the southeast on the 29th of May 2022. 2 Catholic priests were abducted in Katsina State on the 25th of May 2022. 2 Catholic priests were killed in Kaduna and Edo States on June 25 and June 26, 2022. A decade ago, recorded attacks against Christian targets were also very high, with 46 in 2012, going by the data from the ACLED. In April that year, gunmen killed at least 15 people in a university theater being used by Christian worshippers in the northern city of Kano. And later in 2012, at least 19 people died in an attack on a church in central Nigeria. During this period, many of the attacks were carried out by the militant Islamic group Boko Haram. Clearly, we are witnessing a rise in attacks on Christian places of worship and clergymen, especially Catholic priests. Many who are of the belief that something deliberate is going on may have a point. Chiedu.
Yes, AIG Inalegwu, just before you came in, we will try to take an in-depth look at the frequency of this attack, and on the other hand, non-resolution of these incidents. So, on the side of the people, on the side of the populace, hopelessness. On the side of those, especially the agents charged with securing the state, the land, and the people of Nigeria, helplessness. How did we get to this state?
Thank you very much. It's most unfortunate, also disheartening, that these attacks continue to occur. The government has a responsibility to the people. The main duty of government is security of life and property. Because every function of government is to make the people, is the well-being of the people. therefore, when we have attacks and lives are being lost, people begin to think of resorting to self-help, which is all we are talking about, self-defense. Yes, the government has all the security apparatus to provide security of life and property. But when these attacks occur and arrests, the public see that arrests are not being made and they are not being prosecuted, there will be a lot of fear and apprehension in our various communities. So, yes, these things are happening, but even security agencies are being attacked. Their bases, police stations, military checkpoints, and the rest of it. But a place of worship where you go and commune with God to be so disturbed, because especially given the volatility of religion in our society, it should be dealt with. But then, self-help. You want to take up arms and defend yourself. And I always ask, what kind of weapon would you have? There are various ways we can defend ourselves, and we will not be breaking the law. But first of all, let's understand what kind of self-help do we embark upon? How do we defend our communities? How do we defend our homes? It's something we should talk about. Because if you go make it so wide that defend yourself, oh, take up arms, you're going to have anarchy, you're going to have chaos, you're going to have confusion. But there are various ways we can defend ourselves, and we will not be breaking the law. Whether you are a Christian, you're a Muslim, whatever you are, the law provides the rights of self-defense when you are not criminally liable. And that
there is that provision in the law presently.
Because there is criminal liability. Under what condition can you kill and you will not be liable? Is it when you are attacked and there is no other way you can defend yourself except to resort to something? Are you criminally liable for defending yourself legitimately? Let's take an example. Somebody takes a knife and attacks you with a knife, and you cut part of your body, blood is rushing, and there is a wood lying by. As he just attacks you, take the wood and hit him on the head, and he dies. Are you criminally liable? The law gives you some protection. But if when you had arranged and you are anticipating the attack, you can simply walk away. But or after the attack, you go back and start looking for gun. The passion, it's no longer in the heat of passion. But there and then, you can pick something without thinking about it. You have some protection. But in terms of Christianity, it's a bit different in terms of, because the 10 Commandments, thou shalt not kill. And the commandment did not make any provision when you can kill. The commandment just say, thou shalt not kill. A lot of people quote Old Testament, the epistles, and the rest of them. But what you cannot counter is that 10 commandments. But it is not to say you cannot defend yourself. But let us do it in such a way that even in your house, if you are in your room, I always say, you could have a rod behind your door. Somebody tries to break in. With that rod, he cannot break in. But if you want to break in, you take the rod and hibernate. The first armed robber that brings his head, and you take that rod and smash his head, you are not criminally liable. You are defending yourself and property.
So thou shalt defend thyself.
Yes,
Thou shalt not kill, but
thou shalt not kill, because that is it.
That's
But when you are defending yourself, because there is a very thin line, and people must understand this. You go and buy weapon, you go and buy bow and arrows, and all of those things as a deliberate effort in self-defense. It becomes in local parlance. People say a man does not bite. That means in your house somebody attacks you. You should be able to defend yourself. But as we go along on this program, there are various ways you can defend yourself, your family, and your community, and you will be within the ambit of the law. But let us be careful so that when we are encouraging people, go defend yourself. Defend yourself. And it is happening even in Europe.
Yes.
Poland, Finland, and the rest. There's a lot of ongoing training in Poland. People learning to shoot. People learning to use guns. They say, what happened in Ukraine, when the President Zelensky appealed to the public, a lot of people, because they had training, because of the Crimea incident in 2014, so they had a lot of civilians who know how to shoot.
And reserves.
And they have reserves. They have even people, normal people. So right now in Poland, in neighboring countries, people are enlisting in gun classes to, listen. But what I want to say, it should be a natural thing that hunting is a good experience.
Okay.
Game, to play game, you go for firing. It is something that we should take interest in, not only in self-defense. I won't talk more than that, but everybody should learn to hunt. For animals, everybody should learn to go for game. And it's something that people should do. But I will not encourage anybody to go and buy gun for self-defense, but you can go for gaming, for hunting.
Okay. Now, attacks that occur, especially in recent times in most communities in Nigeria by call it bandits, kidnappers, and the rest of them. There is no control as to the weapons these bandits, militants carry. But the state is expected and also controls weapons that non-state actors can carry. Calls for self-defense will be meaningless if it is not effective. How do we balance this?
When the bandits, if anybody sees anyone armed with illegal weapon, unauthorized, report to the nearest police station or give information. The government is not going to sit down and watch people carry
military grade weapons.
No, the government will not allow that. So if you see somebody with AK-47, GPM, general purpose machine gun, rocket propelled grenades, and
helicopters,
and other self-loading weapons, which we describe as prohibited firearms. Are you with me?
Yes.
You see, those are prohibited firearms. You cannot. Only the president, commander-in-chief, can license people to carry prohibited firearms. What the police licenses is the weapon for game. Then at the local government, you have the muzzle loading.
Okay.
You put gunpowder, you hit on the ground and use that. That one, they can give you permit.
Less permit for that.
Yes, you can give you permit.
Okay.
You see, it's also good to get used to the sound of gun, so that you just don't hear the sound of gun
and then you lose it.
You lose it, and then they just come and slaughter you like
just mayhem,
yeah.
right?
So the thing is, the government will not allow any bandit or any person for that matter to carry military grade uniform or prohibited firearms. I hope you understand.
Yes.
But they do that. So it behoves on our communities. That is why I say everybody is looking at gun. Gun is the last phase of defense. Because when you tell me gun, if somebody comes to your house and you kill him in your bed, in your parlor, and you come in the morning and the children see blood on the ground, that image will stay on their head. But if you are able to protect and defend your property, your community against attack, and that is why the trust and confidence of the public in security agencies matter. Because even if you read I think Nehemiah, chapter 6, verse 11 to 28, when they were building the wall and they were walking, and they say, because of our brothers, in the midst of the enemies, because of the information they gave us, it prepared us. And that's why, that is why when they were walking, some were carrying guns, some bows and arrows and defending, because they had. So what are we doing about that? Because gun is very good, but okay. About some reports have it that 22 soldiers were killed when they were responding to that critical incident at the mining in Niger State.
Exactly.
They were
ambushed.
Yes. Were they not carrying gun?
No.
If they had information that these people had laid siege for them, would they run into them? The greatest weapon in security or in self-defense is knowing what is going on in the mind of the enemy. What is the enemy planning? Even somebody armed with a machine gun, with a fork or table knife, disarm the person. So I always, when I have the opportunity of addressing people, that yes, I have said a few things now. I said, look, it is good for our young people to take the hobby of hunting and gaming, and then rifle. There's a lot of they go to
shooting ranges.
Shooting ranges. It's a hobby, not for self-defense in terms of organizing militia
just for the
for your
sports.
community for the sports.
Just
but
for the sports.
It's a habit that should be developed.
Okay, thanks. Okay, in essence, Mr. Inalegwu, intelligence, good intelligence is the very first line of self-defense. That is so good. Intelligence, credible intelligence is the very first line of self-defense.
It doesn't have any intelligence at all, because if you grade it, somebody wants to be very sure. Whatever you hear, they are planning as far off the line as it may be. It is so critical, so important.
Then, how did we get to a state where intelligence appear not to be working, or it is a scarce commodity, or it has become unreliable as far as protecting the Nigerian citizen is concerned?
Well, when you are talking about intelligence, you and I can sit here and know the number of attacks that have been thwarted. You will never know. But those that go through deceive,
dominate the news.
Yes. And that is what the enemy wants. That's what the bandit wants. He wants to be glamorized. But nobody gets to know all that is prevented. When you are traveling from here to Lokoja, some near misses on your way, one vehicle is driving so dangerous and you avoid it, and you go to Lokoja, you don't know that God has protected you from accident. But it is when somebody jams you from the back, you know you had an accident. And that's the one that is in your mind. All those ones you are protected from. You know, it is not to say that the security agencies certainly can do more. But And to enable them to do more, there must be synergy among them. All of them, police, military, DSS, civil defense, all of them must close rank. None of them should seek is this vainglory that I am the one that has done it, but we have done it. That spirit of we have done it must be there, so that if there is information on the need to know, you are able to do that. You see, the greatest self-defense, like you have rightly summarized, intelligence, vigilance, then you have technology.
Do we have any of this sufficiently amongst our security agencies?
Well, the security agencies have they have monitoring devices, they have technology, CCTV, vigilance. Yesterday, the church, the police chaplaincy, Catholic chaplaincy, I'm sure you read in the paper.
Yes, trending.
It was trending actually. One guy, some people say he's a druggist. Some people say, well, he was so dressed, and then we don't know if he went there for surveillance to see how effective is the security of this environment. When I tried to make inquiry, they say, the mother even came, said the man is into drug. They have been trying to rehabilitate him. Of course, right now it's under investigation, and I know the police tactical team, the AIG's response team, way to do a good job, and all they need to do.
Okay. To unravel it.
So they were vigilant, but it's not enough because he got too close.
Exactly.
What if he was wearing? He strapped himself with
explosives.
Yes, and blew up himself. So vigilance.
That was quite close.
Vigilance, technology, and right now, okay, look at what happened in St. Francis and all. Are we able to determine what really happened? Somebody said some people came, they shot one boy, they stayed. Nobody can tell you.
But the state came out to say it is this one, and that has been refuted.
You see,
vigorously by
the governor.
The governor.
And I know why the governor refuted it. I was commissioner of police in Kitty.
Okay.
And I was commissioner of police in Kogi. Let me tell you, I don't know the motive for that attack because no arrest, to the best of my knowledge, has been made. Though Amotekun came said they did arrest, but the statement stopped short of saying who these people are and all that. Maybe they don't want to compromise investigation. But it follows the modus of attack on banks in the Southwest. Crime in the Southwest, until banditry and all that, is all about attack on banks. They have no motive.
Attack on banks?
Yes. And how do they do it? Once they come, dynamite, and then sporadic shooting. And that was what happened. They did it, but I don't think there was any bazaar or harvest going on, and there was cash for them to take.
So the churches are now banks.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that the mode of attack is the way they attack
banks.
Yes. So, so investigation should also address any arrest. If you see the bank robbery.
Yes.
What am I saying? Imagine that we have even 2 cameras, and we saw what happened. We were able to describe. Why was the case of a bank robbery? Why was it solved? Because there were cameras. They picked their faces. A church can vote only 300,000. They can have up to 3 or 4 cameras. It's not expensive. The screen and the cameras. The places that have most, because what do the terrorists want? Where there's a lot of human activity.
Soft targets.
Yes, soft targets, the gates where people are rushing out. When does it usually happen? When the church is closing. Because that's when the crowd rushes out. And that is why, I think in our parish, Father Tumba was immediately after church said, don't stand at the gate, go to your car and keep moving. So in such a place, you have 2 cameras. You're able to pick everything that happens. Other blind spots, 10 cameras, for God's sake. You know what it does? Anybody coming knows that there's camera. It can discourage.
Yeah, I will get into that because
that's technology.
Security should actually prevent or stop this from happening.
So it deters. So I don't see why any church today don't have at least 4 cameras, solar driven.
Okay.
I am sure if it is advertised in churches, you must find parishioners who will be willing to make that contribution, and then all the priests and his associates will have it on their phones. So even if they are not around, they are able to monitor. But there is no substitute for intelligence, vigilance, and
surveillance.
Because you must, because before they come and blow up a place, they have come more than 3 weeks. They will come, observe, and go, and you have not seen that person. So the greatest self-defense, in my opinion, apart from having something in your house or your community, I think the best is to be interested in what goes on. If you heard that one church has been attacked, unfortunately, or a community, pay attention. How did they carry out that attack? So, for me, the emphasis should be on situational awareness. You must know what goes on in your environment.
Mastery of the environment.
Mastery. You must be interested and timely. Develop with your DPO, your OC, and all these people. They may not be doing so well, but your support can put some load on their conscience. And also, when they have done so badly, you can also make a report. We give this information to DPO. We told him that in our church, we found some 2 people last week loitering. We arrested them. We don't know what he did with them. If he didn't do well, and you just sit on it, you don't go forward with it, you don't know when something will happen. You must have the habit of documentation. You arrest, don't go and hand them over, and them over with a letter.
Okay.
From the parish, we saw 2 people just wondering. Because before the attack, they carry out surveillance. They look at, is the security in the church strong? Is the security in the community strong? Are they vigilant? These are very key issues.
Are there gaps?
Are there gaps? Is it gaps? So when everybody is talking of defense, we go and buy gun, if you buy gun, and you don't know they are coming for attack, they just catch you, and that gun you have helped to arm them. Don't they attack police stations and empty the armory? Are you saying that they are not armed? So I don't know why people are saying only allow us buy gun. No.
This whole conversation about self-defense is underpinned by a deep-seated sense of frustration among Nigerians. Something happened in Nasarawa State, that was early last month. An assistant to the former Minister for Information, Labaran Makwi, was attacked in his house in Lafia. So while the criminals, I do not think they were bandits, while they were trying to break in, a distress call was placed by some of his neighbors to the police station in the area. According to reports, 2 policemen came. The 2 policemen had a gun, just one gun between them. When they saw that the criminals bore better weapons, they retreated and left the man at their mercy.
Yes.
They broke in and eventually killed the man. This thing about self-defense recently got into the news because the governor of Zamfara State called for it. And it's because of what has been happening in Zamfara State. In Kaduna State, we have a situation where residents are actually confirming that because so many of these criminals who come to attack and abduct people in the community are cowards themselves. whenever they hear gunshots, they retreat. So there is a sense in which the authorities that are supposed to do these things for Nigerians are not doing what they are supposed to do. And because they are not doing what they are supposed to do, Nigerians feel that they've been left with no other choice but to defend themselves. You know, like when you could chase an animal, if you chase an animal and it gets to a wall, for example, and there is no other way for the animal to get past that wall, it will turn and face you. That is what we say when we say that an animal is at bay. So I think we've got to that situation. As someone who served so highly in the Nigerian police force, it appears that things in the police force have continued to deteriorate. What do you think could be done about that?
I think I have addressed some of these issues. You know, all the security agencies have issues of logistics, have issues of vehicle, of response. Like the example you gave, 2 police personnel went. I don't know what that story is. But now, if the police with an AK could not defend that person because of the kind of gun, what gun would that man have in his house to repel those people that came to attack? You see, Nigerians must hold their leadership accountable. Before you talk of self-defense, if that is the popular wish of Nigerians, after all, in the US, people are allowed to bear a weapon. It's part of their civic rights. The Nigerian people can also go to their lawmakers, change the Firearms Act. But today, the Firearms Act says, look, before you are giving, the only weapon you can be given a double-barrel shotgun that you can use. And even then, it didn't say it's for self-defense. It's for gaming. It's for hunting. But if you have it and somebody broke into your house and is attacking you and you fire. But today, so it is for Nigerians to look, so our reps, our senators, this is what we want. We want civic rights. We want it enshrined in the Constitution.
So hang on a minute. Something. The American Second Amendment actually explicitly states that permitted firearms can be used in self-defense.
Yes.
So this is absent
Yes.
in the Firearms Act in Nigeria.
At all.
Okay.
So if the law we have today has not been amended, I, as a retired senior officer, I'm not going to tell you to go and carry a weapon. I'm not going to say that, but I have talked enough. You understand? So the point is this: having a weapon, our society is divided. And when we are advocating for anything, we've got to be very careful. But we can hold government accountable. Let me ask you, I traveled to one of the states in the Southwest about 3 weeks ago. And I asked them from the airport, the commissioner of police, to send a vehicle to provide escort for me to where I was going within the state. The man said, they didn't have vehicle. Then the following day that I was leaving, they brought a Nissan pickup as my escort. After about 50 meters, I begged them. I said, go and buy fuel and just stay. Because I know if they had gone to Akure, going back that vehicle operator, assuming they were able to pay too. So the point is, the public should visit police stations and ask DPO, what do you have? What quantity of fuel do you receive in a week? How many vehicles do you have? The standard is 3 police personnel to 1 vehicle. That is the standard. That is why if you see the police in other countries, you find 2 of them in a patrol car. Here we carry as if we are carrying passengers to the market. You find 4 or 5 at the back, some in the front. They don't have vehicle. So, if you give example of police divisions of personnel of 200, 300, you find only 1 or 2 rickety vehicles. So the public must support security agencies, and they must. There should be, the police should also go all out to seek the cooperation of the public in the way they treat the public, in the way they handle them at checkpoints, in the way they handle them when they go to police station. So there will be that seamless relationship between the public and the police, because trust is lacking. And that's a major issue.
Thank you very much. The slogan continues, the police is your friend. So moving beyond the sloganeering and actually ensuring that, yes, when information is passed to relevant agencies, this information is used effectively to prevent crimes, bring closure to crime incidences, and restore hope in the populace. Father.
Thank you, Chiedu. I really admire the progress and the trajectory of this conversation. But I would want us going forward maybe to look at some of these issues vis-a-vis the jurisprudence that backs up self-defense. I agree with AIG in so many respects that, maybe bearing arms or using the arms in self-defense is always the last stage. But given the situation in the country now, you cannot take away the fact that there is this need to review our laws. And I say this because if you look at the Second Amendment of 1791, which was given effect in a judgment in 2008, like you rightly said, it allows you to bear arms, and you are protected by the law to so do, not as a member of any militia, legally, so that in the event of eventuality, you can deploy those arms in self-defense. Now we have a situation where government is failing in its responsibility, and the failure is not both ways, it's one-sided. Why the government is failing in its responsibility to protect us, the script before us reveals that those who perpetuate this high level of killings in the country don't have restrictions as to how they get these weapons, call them light arms or automatic loading machine guns, and so it has become a big market. Whereas the citizens who are docile to the law seem to be the victims of these people. And we are not also pretending, our conversation here says so, that our institutions are being ravaged by so many inadequacies that they are not even able to live up. So the most modest demand we can make in this conversation, why we don't say go and carry guns. In fact, self-defense, there is no war anywhere. It's not even about carrying gun to go and shoot. Who are you going to shoot? It is basically about the fact that we have come to a point in our national life where we should have our laws adjusted to accommodate the fact that category of persons can legally bear arms, and should the occasion arises. There are also times where occasions arose and they were intelligence, but people were overpowered by higher weapons because there was barely nobody who could even shoot to scare. So while government is saying we should be law-abiding, I think where we are now requires that we must look into the direction of having legal weapons possessed by individuals. Not really, in any case, you don't license a lunatic or a drug person for bearing arms.
Yeah, there are conditions.
There are conditions.
Yeah, I mean, background checks.
First of all, you must be 17, not below 17. 2, you must be of temperate, have a balanced personality. You must not have been convicted of domestic violence or a crime involving violence in the past 5 years. Of course, you must do an application, and you have a recommendation by a senior officer of any of the services, police or military, that I know this guy is of balance.
Is psychological test not involved?
Yeah, no. Oh, you must be mentally
right.
And then you must have good eyesight. You must not have been diagnosed with any mental issue. Somebody suffering depression and the rest of it. And also, you go for eye check. When you do an application, then somebody will give you a recommendation. And like I was saying before, our young people must imbibe the habit. I don't know what is happening. In those days when we were in the village, our headmaster had the barbarian. Other teachers had, they used to hunt monkeys. You see, you are not going to wait for somebody to tell you as a young person,
Be prepared. Be prepared. yeah, in essence, but I mean, we'll take a short break, but before then, Kene, you're a lawyer. I mean, have we tested our laws enough in the courts? For instance, when the young man in Wisconsin last year, during the riot going on in the US, the young man who eventually killed 2 of the protesters, he went all through the court and he was what? Acquitted. That is, he used his firearms lawfully. That is what the law says. Have our laws been tested enough?
Our laws, unfortunately, have not been tested enough in that wise. Our laws have been tested to the fullest when you have to convict people of illegal possession of firearms. That is we usually get a lot of convictions on that in our court. And the thing about self-defense is there is always a question of proportionality. Like if somebody comes to kill you, for example, somebody comes to kill or to cause you grievous bodily harm, and in defending yourself, you kill the person or you cause the person grievous bodily harm, the law would look at the proportionality of the defense you employed. If, for example, somebody came against you with if somebody came against you with a knife, for example, and you used a gun on the person, of course, you will go in for it. Okay,
so our laws have not been tested enough, or the legal practitioners they are yet to put this particular aspect of our law to good test. Listeners, we'll take a short break. When we come back, we continue our discussion on self-defense. Yes, thank you. We'll continue our discussion on self-defense, calls for self-defense. Now, AIG Inalegwu, if I may ask, what makes self-defense necessary in a territory? Is it incapability of the state or unwillingness of the state?
I think it's not totally correct that the state is unwilling. That's why you have officers on patrol along major streets, conduct stop and search to see if there are people who are unlawfully armed, and that's why the state arrests and apprehends people who are illegally armed. And I think the president even gave an order one time about anybody found to be illegally armed with an AK-47. So I think on the part of the citizens, we should also do our best. But the state has all these other agencies that are dealing with these issues. But the state alone cannot do it, just like the security agencies alone cannot do it. So I think I will not subscribe to the fact that
the state is unwilling.
The state is very willing, and that is why I say
or not capable.
No, I think the capability is relative here, because the issue is this: the state is doing everything it can. And last time I talked to one of the commissioners, I said, some people say so and so is happening here. He said, tell them to come. We will go there. So the state is willing. What you must observe is this: all the officers, they are working under very difficult conditions. How many of them get killed when responding to critical incidents? That is not what an unwilling person would do. But there are clear issues of logistics, like I had earlier, highlighted. So, but I'm an advocate of policing that is based on community trust.
Okay.
And I believe that all crimes can be stopped. And it works.
If communities are well sensitized
from the ward level, I don't. Every ward should have a security committee actively working, and then up to the district, especially in the north, up to the local government, up to the state government, and the federal government. You see, you can solve a lot of crime if everybody is brought on board. These criminals live behind our houses. We say they are in the forest. What supply do they have in the forest? What supply? Even no matter how they put food there, at a time it will be exhausted. They'll come to the market to buy. On Sunday, they'll go to church if they're Christians. On Friday, they'll go to mosque. Have you seen that person?
Even the criminals do.
Yes.
They go to the church and the mosque.
They go.
Correct.
So what is it? On Friday, they go to mosque. On Sunday, they go to church. They go to town to buy supply. They are sick. They
visit the hospital.
Doctor. Let me ask you a question. How many times have hospitals in rural areas been questioned? All those people. If you like, you deploy with all the machine gun, you can never stop crime. There will always be crime, but you can mitigate it, you can reduce it, but more importantly, with adequate intelligence. Ask yourself, Abuja, Kaduna Road, why? Ask yourself, why is it that so around Keteri, they're always attacking? What makes it possible? You must understand that the communities are so important. I was a DPO in Niger State, and I went to, we're having a robbery, Gauba Bangida to Mina, Mina's Bida, Lambata to Suleja, and we're fighting them. One time, arrest was made. Do you know that the person harboring them was a young man in Gao? He calls himself a VD. He portrayed himself as a filling station manager in Port Harcourt and was visiting there. But he would always do. He was bringing all this bandits. Look at your neighbor. If his lifestyle suddenly changes, watch him. If possible, make a report. That blessing that God has given him, find out if it is indeed from God or from the enemy. So, what is causing problem? Yes, security agencies, they are paid to do their work, but everybody is a security agent. All of us in this studio, we have a role to play. Because and a famous English police officer called Robert Penn, he said the people are the police are the people. So if you are waiting, just ask yourself, if I am selling bread, for example, in catering, and every 3 days, somebody is coming to buy 10 loaves, 20 loaves, I'm making profit. I'm not bothered. You see somebody's leg, you know this man has been in the forest. It doesn't occur to you. You have not seen him in your community. He is not a farmer. And you see his leg, terrible, because he has been trekking in the bush. It doesn't ring a bell. The greatest defense is stopping them before they come. If you don't stop them, because when you give valuable information, where the man who sells India hemp in your community you should know him. Who are his patrons? The cultists in your community, who is their coordinator? These are very, very key. When you are in a worship place, who are the regular worshippers? Who is that new person? Whom did he follow? You see, if you are not vigilant, why are you talking about self-defense? Even that gun you have bought, you use it, carry it, and kill you. Vigilance, observatory skill, questioning things that you see, anything that is unusual, question it. And the security agencies must expand further, develop sources within the various communities. All the hairdressers, all the do to reduce, to mitigate and reduce crime.
Yeah.
We may not totally stop it,
Yeah.
but we can't stop it. Okay, let me ask you another question. Let me tell you one thing. Self-defense is so much. Even every department of government, look at FEMA, look at the state ministries of work. If you drive, especially down south, all the grasses grow into the road. Even the shoulder is taken over. Why would there be no kidnapping? So, how many can the communities even organize themselves and widen their road so that if you are coming and you see some strange people, you know whether they are police from far. But these days, especially this rainy season, if they want to kidnap everybody, they can kidnap because the grass veg, the shoulders are taken over, and they start firing from the bush. You don't even know what is going on. So, collective responsibility is what we need to prevent crime. Collective action, trust. There must be trust between the police, the security agencies, and the public.
We say questions, interrogate. I do not think the Nigerian public or surveillance has been unable to actually pinpoint where these crimes spring from. For instance, when the bishop was kidnapped in somewhere along between the Enugu Kaduna road, we've had a guest here who says that particular spot has been notorious because it has been under suspicion for quite a while that most criminal activities that occurs along that axis spring from a particular section of the forest. If citizens who are not in the security agencies are aware of this, how much more the security agencies whose treat the primary tool the security agencies deal with this information, they have this information. What has been done as to raiding and getting or making these places free from those who actually make life miserable for us?
Well,
I mean, people make a joke. How come Sambisa Forest has become so impregnable that Nigeria has failed to actually clear that place of those who occupied it and have terrorized our state from that spot?
You know, I gave this example. I talk about that. Why is it that every time kidnapping is around Keteri? The same thing you are saying. You see, when the hoodlum or the bandit looks for where it's convenient, if they select a particular place, they may not be living there. It is for that time of crime. What I think what they do, let me not be so categorical. When they find such a place convenient, what can you do? You deploy to that area to prevent them so that they don't. And that is why when you see the location of certain checkpoints and patrol teams is to address such areas. It's not because of what the crime statistics reveal to them. That's why they are not just positioned. That is number one. Number two, It is. There can be 10. They are scattered. Their guns are dismantled. Only one person will hold all the guns and know where they keep them in the bush. It is when they have that operation they begin to come one by one. This one drop, the other one drop, and as they are going, within that time, it takes such a short time, and they just hit. Even if you are there and they're already entering the bush, you don't want to cause collateral damage, because assuming you attack and they kill that person you want to see, they shoot indiscriminately. The security agency will not shoot indiscriminately. They will begin to take steps that they can safely rescue these people. But it is the modus is this. If you think a place is a crime area, you storm, you raid. But are you going to do it every second? You swear. Now that is why you find in such places a lot. You have to ask yourself, how come if you notice, wherever you find those checkpoints, either the road is rough, is at a bend, it's meant to prevent those people from having any foothold in such a place. So there are deliberate steps like that.
Thank you, AIG. Like the president, state governors are said to be chief security officers in their states. And I'm sure they are privy to so many security data and information that we don't know.
That's true, you're right.
And just not too long ago, it was the Zamfara state governor, just about 2 weeks ago, that called. In fact, he even directed that the commissioner of police, whether he has powers to do so, is a thing for another day, directed him to start registering his people, in view of procurement of arms. And before now, the Katsina state governor had called it out of frustration, maybe. And these are people who preside over the resources of the state, are privy to information, and coordinate also the security agencies within their states. And they could come out with these outbursts. You have spoken so well about the security agencies, how they are doing so much, given the very difficult circumstances they work, and we give it to them. We appreciate them, and we pray that God keeps them. And we know it's true. But there is also another factor that has to do with compromises, maybe infiltration of corruption and bad eggs within, which does not just destroy trust of the community, which I know you are a very strong advocate of, but also is even making those who supervise those architecture almost incapable of seeing that anything good could come out of it, because that is the only sentiment that could make a security officer who has the resources and can interrogate and probe anything throw his hands up in despair and say, you know what, we should go this jungle way. So I ask you, with this picture painted, don't you see that there is something deeper about this helplessness that is now growing? Not really because these people want to make this call, but they are almost seeing a no way. Even with the security structures, we have always called for the review of the security architecture of the entire country. And I don't know where you place all of these calls and frustrations. If I make that cry, I won't be taken seriously because I hardly know anything. But they do. And we must take them serious. So I want you to comment on that.
So sorry, before you come in, yes, we just have another news now from the Catholic Diocese of Kafanchan.
Yes.
Yes, the Chancellor, Father Emmanuel Uchechukwu Okolo, is reporting that with great pain we announce to you the kidnapping of our priest, Reverend Father Emmanuel Silas. The sad event is believed to have occurred in the early hours of this morning, when the priest couldn't show up for the early morning mass. And it's now learned he was abducted from the rectory of St. Charles Catholic Church in Zambina, in Kauru local government area of Kaduna State. Yeah, we are talking. We were talking about 2 incidents over the weekend, and now this is coming. So the question is, again, is the state really incapable or unwilling to deal with these things?
Responding to
Yes.
that, I pray that.
We actually commiserated with the.
I pray
with
that
the
the Lord Almighty will cause priests to be released.
this, yes, Amen.
Now, you see, we have a situation in our hand. There is no doubt. And I referred for the Lord, let me just say that. First of all, the governors can do a lot. They can. Because even if you're a commissioner of police, the local government chairman, they are responsible to the governor. The chiefs or traditional rulers are also responsible to the government. And they can have deep conversation with them. And when the commissioner of police or the GPO has such privilege to information, he can also utilize them. Now, the governors must understand that they are chief security officers. A chief security officer is not only by having your own private army. That is a problem. The federal government security agencies, as much as the federal government try, is very difficult. When I went to Ondo State, the police, the commissioner didn't even have a vehicle. His vehicle, one Prado, an old one, he told me it was always breaking down. But if you see a Motekun, they have very new, this Chinese Jack, JAC. The area commander said, now them new vehicles. And I'm sure very soon in Zamfara, this guard watch that they have just those with the red uniform, they're going to have more logistics than the NPF that has the mandate, that has the primacy on internal security. The federal government recently, I think, shared about 5 pickups with all the states. Now, I always say something that the governors can do to support police or other security agencies. It should be result-based. For example, you say in Benin, in the last 3 months, we've had 5 kidnaps, for example. CP, Brigade Commander, Director DSS, I don't want kidnapping on that road. Your Excellency, if we have this, we have that, we can reduce it by 50%. They are talking to each other. And if in the quarter, they come together to analyze, Commissioner, Brigade Commander, Director DSS, you made this request, I granted this, yet instead of 5, we now have 7. And you begin to question. What does not get measured, the English man said, does not get done. It is that involvement, not just giving money, is it occurring? And the governors able to bend down to do all these things. There is nothing they can do when you don't give them the resources. And the resources are lacking. But in my own opinion, their governors, federal government, president, they are doing enough. But they can do more. Let's identify the problem. Let them sit together and analyze. Not only in the big conference where everybody talk show, everybody come and blow grammar. The governor should be able to, on a monthly basis, sit down with the commissioner for only 30 minutes with the security advisor to discuss the issues and what steps are being done. Honestly, that is how to be a chief security officer of a state.
Yeah,
it's not by having your own army. And I will not leave this studio without repeating all I have said. Vigilance. every parish, at least in Abuja archdioceses and all over the country, should have camera. Also, what do you call it? Metal detector. It's
Yeah.
about 35,000
Yeah.
or 40.
Yeah.
They should have all this. And the parish priest should meet with the security committee once a month to discuss developments.
And hear from them.
Hear from them and,
And
tell them his expectation and where they are going wrong.
Yeah.
Because when you don't talk about something, it is not going to be in your subconscious.
Exactly. And then listening or hearing from the people.
Yes.
Kene will now open up the telephone lines to our listeners to call in and make contributions.
So the number to call is 081 084 475 18. The number again is 081 084 475 18.
Yeah, who do we have there and where are you calling from?
My name is Samuel Abu from Chiedu Ude in Kogi State.
Samuel, good morning. Thanks for calling in. So let's have your contribution and please make it brief.
Yes. In fact, they have spoken a lot, and your guest there has spoken a lot also. We love the way he spoke. In fact, it's insecurity matters. It has come all the way that it's just like a mysterious something. We cannot, ordinary person cannot just explain it clearly. Or we ordinary Nigerians. And know the way this thing is going. This attack on the churches and the individuals, especially attacking the clergymen, is what is bothering my heart so much. And this self-defense that you people have talked much about. I think if the state governors can arrange with elders of the communities so that they can know the way to handle these matters. Because for individuals, we don't think that it is highly possible to defend ourselves against these people. But if they can arrange some people to at least give them a life training to defend their communities, I think it will be a bit fair. And I don't think that people will begin to carry weapons to the churches to defend themselves. It's not orderly. So I think let the governors, the community leaders, or the chiefs, local chiefs, arrange together, to agree together, to elect some people to defend them. I think it will be better. Thank you. God bless you and God bless Nigeria.
Yeah, thank you, Samuel.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, okay, we have another caller. Hello, 91.3 FM. Who do we have there? I think we lost the caller. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, of course, Samuel talked about, I think in essence, he was talking about our state police, strengthening state police, or the local vigilantes, getting them better organized. I think it ties to what you raised initially.
It's what is even we do at the moment. What the police wants is that if you have a vigilante or whatever in your community, when they are going out, if there are 20 or 10, have at least 2 conventional police officers with them, so that they can go together. That has been on. And once communities come together, they can defend themselves. But defending themselves is everybody. How many communities today, if there's attack, instead of running, can have a means of alerting the whole community? It might be a horn, a bell, something that when you hear that bell, you know there's danger.
Yeah, talking about, having proper drills on how people respond to, situation. We saw that yesterday in Copenhagen during the attack.
Yes.
You could see an organized system. They all responded to the alarm. Of course, what do you call it? I mean, what do you call the muster point?
Yes.
People move to muster point,
Yes.
and making it easy for security agencies to respond, protect those who are endangered, and then also apprehend the culprit.
So every community should have an early warning system that they are able to alert each other. Because when it happened in one of the districts in Idomaland in Benue South, my area, and about 22 young people slaughtered. And I asked myself, how? Everybody sleep at night? And I don't think anybody, I'm not advocating for...
Okay, we have another call. Let's have your name and where you're calling from, and please make your contribution brief. Hello?
Yes, my name is Ambassador Musa Mohammed talking.
Okay, Ambassador Musa Mohammed.
President, APC Initiative for Good Governance.
All right, Ambassador Mohammed, thanks for calling. Let's have your contribution. Please make it brief.
You're welcome. I want to say this program is very timely. And I highly cherish the program with the resource persons on board. This program should be aired by all media organs because of the rich and well-articulated presentation of the guests in the studio.
Thank you.
I like their presentation so much. It's very, very resourceful, and I think all the media organs in the nation, if I will have the way, I would say they should take it to the air.
Thank you.
It's very, very rich.
Thank you.
And I haven't said that I am a student of human security and counter-terrorism. And to be candid, I'm well knowledge with the presentation today I have with the people on board. I want to say that this issue of security...
Are you still there? Ambassador Mohammed, are you still there? Okay, I think we lost him. Yes, listeners, thanks for staying tuned to Radio Maria 91.3 FM. You have been listening to Side by Side. We come to the end of this show, and then we thank once more our guest, AIG Wilson Inalegwu, retired.
Wilson Inalegwu. When they don't speak, they speak in low. Wilson Inalegwu.
Wilson
Inalegwu. Yes, you come down.
All right.
Thank you.
Wilson Inalegwu.
Exactly. Wilson Inalegwu. Calmly. They will mistake you for the Doberman.
Thanks, and of course you had the last caller actually commending the
discussants.
The discussants. Correct. And to you, our listeners, thank you for joining us on the program. The next edition of Side by Side will come your way Wednesday, July 6th at 10 a.m. Until then, keep listening to Radio Maria 91.3 FM. I am Chiedu Ude.
I am Kene Obiezu.
I am Father Loius Duniya.
Peace be with you all.